Hello, hello. I am the elevated educator. And so, how I'm going to get started to make sure we clear the energy, do a little sound bowl. Want to make sure that my message that I'm delivering to you is right on time. So, are you a parent of a child that is constantly getting trouble in school? Are you getting a million phone calls a day, texts on the apps, on the bright wheels, on all of the things? Yep, that's me too. I have a 4-year-old son that I have been getting phone calls for from at least two schools, I'll say. And I have been in the throes of this, right? As a parent, wanting to do the right thing, being stressed out about it, trying to partner with my co-parent about the situation. How do we eradicate it? You just want to go to work and make the money to do all of the things. Your child is sweet and kind and respectful at home, and you're trying to understand, like, what is this disconnect, what is the breakdown. I've had many of us of sleepless nights trying to figure out what's going on with my child, and from throwing out diagnoses and and trying to get it figured out. I have heard it all. I have heard everything, and so this is the place for you. It is on my spirit, and I'm coming to you as a parent, but I am a 10-year plus in several different um, avenues of education, veteran of education. So I have been an adult basic education educator, a preschool teacher, a middle school teacher, a high school teacher, an adjunct instructor. I've been a dean of students. I have been an independent and am, just in case this resonates with any of you, an independent education consultant, as well as a private education consultant working for a company. And and I did that a lot of sort of the transitions in my career. I didn't know where God was sort of, or the universe was taking me. And it really was to be like an ethnographer, to really just take in my experiences on so many different levels. And trying to figure out what is my pathway in education, right? Is it to be the superintendent? Is it to be, the secretary of education? What is my pathway? And a lot of these experiences in and inside the classroom, outside the classroom, as a consultant, as a parent, really shape sort of this awareness of what the heck is going on. Why are so many kids of color, having trouble in schools? I mean, it's just like a lot of my friends that I talk to, a lot of some who are educators, some whom are not. In my family, I talk to my sister, and it's these constant phone calls of they're not behaving, they're not adhering to whatever rules and systems or whatever is going on. It's like something in the water at school. And it's like, I know my child, I know I have conversations, and this is to the active parents, right? I'm going to all of the meetings, I'm trying to problem solve and figure out what it is, to no avail, right? And so, me having all of this experience and not even coming to this platform until I became a parent, and I'm looking at it on the other side, um, and having this wealth of knowledge, have kind of like deduced it to one thing. Schools are still modeled after factories, right? What generation do we serve? What population do we serve? So we have a Gen X or even a millennial. I'm a millennial teacher serving Generation Alpha. There's some things that you need to know. We are educating from 2010 to 2024 Generation Alpha. Anything after that, I believe, is Generation Beta. These kids were born, the oldest of them are about 14 years old. It's about 14 years old. They were around for the launch of the first iPad in 2010. They are around a technologically advanced environment. They were born in it. Millennials, which I identify as, we had a little bit of both, but they're in it. They are, shaped by the pandemic, their early childhood experiences. Most of them, they're going to be the most technologically advanced generation that we have seen thus far, Generation Alpha. They're really racially diverse, and they really respond to visual elements, so video and pictures and graphics and all of the things that they see. And not only are they drawn to it, it's really the core of their social experiences, the core of their educational experiences. Keep that thought. They're into application-based play, and screen time, which equals shorter attention spans. So everybody doesn't have ADHD, right? Everybody is not on the spectrum. These kids are cognitively responding to the environment that they were born in. So shout out to, I think it's Springtide Research Institute.org. They provided some of these facts and some that I already knew from just working in the field. They want to be co-creators, right? That means you create, I create, I'm a part of this process with you. So if you're still the stand up, sit down, do as I told, because I told you to do it when I want you to do it type of generation, you're going to have to get with it or get lost, right? This is the year of not only just being a teacher, but being a facilitator, being someone that is willing to learn and being a practitioner in your field. And if you're not going to be that, then you're going to have a really hard time with these upcoming generations and these next group of kids that are coming in, because it's going to only go up from there. Let's get into this factory model of education, right? Started with the Industrial Revolution, with this economic boom, with this new technological advancement. I don't know why it's hard for me to say that word. New technological advancements, when we are replacing hand tools with machinery, and we're going to get you working because we want to produce something, right? Everything that we are doing is to produce a product so that we can sell it. And so let's talk about it. Factory models were created for standardization. So think tests in school, assessments, structured classrooms, just memorizing. I want you to know it because I want you to know it, and I want you to say it. It's not going to be, something that I feel like I need. It's just something that I want you to know because you're going to produce something for me. Efficiency, right? I want to do something. I want to teach this standard in a specific day at the specific time for 20 minutes. And then they say, I don't have any more else time to teach this. But I have to teach it then, and I have to teach it well, and I have to teach it fast. All students seated in roles, and the teacher is the focus point, the authority in the room. Talk about the environment, discipline, obedience, conformity. I need you to do what I say, and I need you to do it right now. We do this for results, and results and data are cool, but it's comparatively. I want to be the best school in the state. I want to be the best school in the nation. I want to be the best county of education. I want to be the best state with the best education system. I want to compare it to everybody else, not for the individual need of a student, not their individual progress and what they're interested in. Our schools are, in a sense, factories, right? Which the raw products, our children, are to be shaped and fashioned into products to meet the various demands of life. And that's by Elwood Patterson. Cooperly, I believe that you say his last name is, and he's a scholar professor, I think, out of Stanford. So the way that we see education is to meet the various demands of life, not because of what they want to be, what they're interested in, but because we have a need once you leave this building, and we want you to be able to fulfill it. And if this has not changed since the Industrial Revolution, since the factory model, that's not even a need anymore. Take a look at the World Economic Forum. Take a look at more context on who this generation is, the upcoming generation, and all of the things that they're going to need. And so if you're still in a school that are making your kids sit at circle time, and then that's an issue if they're not, or if you're still in a setting where they're not focusing in on technology or AI, using it as a tool, trying to help you and partner with you or partner with the students to be able to meet these needs, then they're not going to be adequately prepared for the next 10, 15, 20 years when we're going to catapult and be light years beyond where we are in terms of technological advancement. Now, I'm from the old school, and I don't like a lot of screen time and all of the things either. My grandparents raised me. I didn't have a TV in my room, so I limit it and I incentivize it, but you better get with it or get lost. But in the midst of that revolution, sometimes it's about pushing back, being educated yourself, educator or not, right? I do have an advantage with that. And it was very advantageous when I was in those spaces and I was able to help parents navigate how to advocate for their children help parents understand what their rights are, help parents understand, all of these things. So the phone call that I got, this was October. He started in August, switched to school from just the lack of direction that the first school had, the lack of structure that the first school had. I saw the writing on the wall, the lack of teachers. So he switched to school. And by October, end of October, I had the teacher and the director coming to me saying, like, oh, Miss, your son might need to be evaluated. And I said, well, why? And evaluated, I'm assuming for a 504 plan or an IEP. And she said, because he's active and or hyperactive. And I said, oh, that's true. He's always been active. I think my son rolled over at 2 months. And he's a COVID pandemic baby, 2021. He didn't go to childcare until he was about 8 months. Anything else? I'm looking. Oh, he won't sit at circle time. Okay. 2 weeks go by, I meet with the director. She pulls me upstairs. Thank God I had the time because I made the shift in the transition from being a teacher to a dean to being a consultant on purpose, right? To be able to have that time and to be able to impact education, honestly, in a different way, without the bureaucracy, without having to answer to, without the factory model education that, that schools are used to and that they adhere to, without even thinking about shifting the mindset. I needed to have a different perspective or lend a different voice and a different ear to the sector of education, since God so, humbly, the universe really called me to this particular profession. And I went upstairs and I chatted with her, and she talked about, all without saying ADHD, all without saying what I know that she really wanted to say, because like I said, I made it very clear that this is my pathway, that education is my sector. You can talk, we can talk about it. And what she told me is that I needed to take my son to a neurologist because he quite literally cannot control his impulses. She said, I'll ask him to do one thing and he'll do it for a second and then he'll get back to doing the other thing. And I said, well, he's been to his pediatrician. We've done all of the things that we've needed to ensure that he's successful. He's progressing developmentally in all of the ways that he needs to be, in the correct ways. There's been no concern on my end or my co-parents' end about his well-being trajectory, and even as an educator, right? Like, have taught students on the autism spectrum, right? I have taught students who have had ADHD diagnosed in what I believe, and I'm not a medical doctor, undiagnosed. I've talked to and, taught and catered to students who are academically gifted. I mean, all of the things I have seen, not only in my classroom, right, as a teacher, as a tutor, as a grade level chair, as a dean of a high school, as a consultant. Like, I've seen all of the things. So I would be the first person to not want to neglect these particular things and nuances that I'm seeing, to be able to get him evaluated, to be able to take these concerns to my pediatrician. And to no avail. No, I know what your pediatrician says, Marlis, but I know what your pediatrician says, but you need a neurologist. My Black 4-year-old son, he was 3 actually at the time. He didn't turn 4 until January. 3. He needs to be evaluated because he won't sit at circle time. The pediatrician's advice wasn't enough, my Black woman pediatrician, but he needed to go to a neurologist because obviously there was something that she was seeing within those 6 and 7 hours at school that I wasn't seeing as a parent. And so I took this with a grain of salt and I pushed her. And I said, well, have you ever heard of the correlation between ADHD and overexcitabilities? Oh, we know that your son is smart. We know, and that's what concerns us. I could be talking to my son and he could be hiya, doing his ninja moves mid-sentence. And I've told him something and I get a little frustrated and I say, son, did you hear what I just said? And he'll be like, yeah, you told me to make sure I wash my hands and I get my nails and I make sure that I get a paper towel when I'm done. And it will be literally exactly what I said. I mean, the memory is on point. Because my son wants to dance and move his body and do all of the things means that he has to be evaluated by a neurologist. You know that he's smart, you know that he's advanced, you know that he is gifted, but yet and still you try to diagnose my son. She she then goes on to tell me that if she wasn't involved with the public school system, because remember I told you they gave them a certain amount of money to private providers to extend the program, that if it wasn't the public school, the district school, for the district school, now she says that she was a SPED master's degree, SPED educator, the works, right? So she's acting as if she's on this level with me. She said if it wasn't for the school saying that the school's rules and regulations, that she would say I could no longer serve you and she would ask me to leave the program. This is October. And so people like that, right? You don't expect, and I think even when you have the degree, right, and the credentials, depending on, there's educators and then there's good educators. There's great educators, right? There's educators and then there's practitioner. And I kind of lie on the practitioner side, right? Because my practice is ever growing and ever transforming. Do you know why? Because the students, the people are ever growing and ever transforming. The generations are ever growing and ever transforming. I do want to say a quick disclaimer. I'm not a medical doctor. And, if you feel the need and you want to get your student evaluated or you feel like there's something, please do. And medicate and get diagnosis, whether it's autism, ADHD, right? If you really feel like there is something to it or that's going on, or if you're a parent that your child is already diagnosed, right? And they already have, a disability. This is not me to say that every teacher is wrong and everybody is doing it right. This is for me to say, like, get a second opinion, ensure that you are equipped with the knowledge that you need to make sure that you're making an informed decision. Don't do it to make your life easier, because in the midst of trying to do it to make your life easier, you could be doing a disservice to your child. This is not saying that SPED and special education doesn't exist. It's actually the opposite. It does. Everybody is neurodivergent. We all have certain neurodivergencies and quirks and learning styles and things that makes us different. This is largening and making larger the conversation and who it affects. I'm a visual learner and I wasn't born in this generation. Some people respond well to auditory. I'm a visual learner. And so this is meeting the unique, long overdue individual needs of a student. Whether you are diagnosed with a learning disability or diagnosed as a special or classified as a special education student or not. So this is not me saying to not take the medicine and not. Personally, I know my son is active and hyperactive, but I don't speak into existence things like that, right? Like I don't say, well, he has ADHD. It also can be overexcitabilities, which is where extremely gifted kids, and I'll do another video on that, exhibit pretty much the same exact symptoms of ADHD, and it's called overexcitabilities. Look it up. So I don't want my kid to have a label, or you put a label, because as soon as you put a label on a kid or on a student or on a person, you start having to operate under that construct. You start limiting their scope or their trajectory in life when you label someone. So I choose not to put a label on it, but I understand how classifying and labels and things of that sort also protect our students in certain situations and in schools. So this is speaking to who it's supposed to speak to. And if it's not speaking to you, I understand, but this is not a slight. This is just a post for awareness. And I'm sure that it is and will be controversial, but it's something that must be said. So if this is resonating with you, then this message was for you. And hopefully there is more to come, because I got stories on stories on stories. Thank y'all.